Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots. And today I've got more fall farmhouse pumpkins, and this is technically part 2 from Friday's video, from Tuesday's video. But yeah, let's jump in. I was gonna put all these in one video, but yeah, it would have been a long video. So here's a couple Dollar Tree signs. These are pretty common. I've seen a lot of people pick these up in hauls and stuff. They're pretty decent weight, so they're actually very decent for, you know, tabletop decor or shelf sitters. So I just took off all of the stickies and we're going to paint these girls. And of course, grab my pumpkin colored chalk paint from Waverly, because everything is pumpkin. At least in the next few videos, everything will be pumpkin. Like, this is my excuse. This is my time of the year where my crazy pumpkin ways are acceptable. Whereas when people come to my home and they see that I have pumpkins out year round, they're pretty much like looking at me weird. Like, yeah, no, I don't live on a pumpkin farm. I live in the hot desert of Las Vegas. So yeah, but I like pumpkins. So after I just basically painted the outsides of them, I was going to paint the back, but I didn't want to have to go through sanding off all that sticky back there, because there was a lot of sticky on there. And it's not a real wood, it's a pressed particle something. So I just covered the back with the craft paper. I got that also at Dollar Tree in their like shipping or school supply aisle. So I just used some hot glue, and I'm going to take my hand sander and I'm just roughing up the edges, kind of file downwards in a downwards motion. And it basically cuts the paper in a very neat fashion. It leaves a really nice edge, you know. I also do that with the scrapbook paper that we're going to put on the front too. But it's basically just me finishing off the back of it so it looks nice. And then now we're going to grab scrapbooking paper. Now, I've used this paper before. It is so cute. These are both from Hobby Lobby. They're both 59 cents each. And now this one has all kinds of stuff: pumpkin pie, cranberries, crisp, apple. It's basically Thanksgiving words, you know, you should say. But if you see here, I left a little bit of an edge around there, and I kind of measured it around to make it bigger than our little spot here. And I'm using my scrapbooking AdTech glue runner, and I'm just gluing down this. I'm not going to Mod Podge this paper because, again, this isn't going to see any type of moisture. This is a shelf sitter. And then here's the same technique as before. I'm using my finger sander. Now, that's available in my Amazon store, so if you click in the link in my description or pinned to the first comment, you can take a look at that. I love that little tool. I love it to death. So I'm just roughing up the edges, and then I kind of left a little bit of paint I messed up the paint a little bit, so I decided to just sand off the rest of it, and I like how it turned out. So I'm kind of glad that I kind of messed it up a little bit, because it aged it. It distressed it some more. So here's the second one. Now, this paper, I wanted the thankful to be in the middle, so I had to make sure that the actual words and the pattern of the paper I chose actually worked out for what I needed. Because it's almost like I do that with wrapping paper too. If I'm wrapping a gift and the gift's like all crooked, I'm like, oh, I actually bought paper that I need to actually... It feels wasteful, but it's really not, guys, because you can still use that as accents and other things or other scrapbooking opportunities. So don't think that you're wasting it. But again, 59 cents, and I guarantee I got it on sale. But in any event, we're doing the same thing. Just make sure you measure a little bit extra around the edges, and that's just to get a clean edge with your sander or your any type of sander. You can just cut these. I am just not that good at cutting exact measurements, and plus everybody knows everything from Dollar Tree is never the right measurement, nor is it ever the same. So I just got all the dust off there, and then basically the blocks are cute. I mean, these are cute just as they are, just little blocks. But we're gonna turn them into punkies. So you guys have seen these before. I got these off of Amazon. They're just wood stem pieces. I got 40 of them for $11.98, so they're about 29 cents each. Because my Dollar Trees do not have those cool little stems everybody picks up. I'm very jealous. So I had to buy them. So I'm just grabbing 2 of them, and I actually like that one of them has a curve in it, so it makes me pretty happy. So I'm just going to use a combination of wood glue and hot glue to get these on, and I did let them sit because I did paint the sides of it, and again, I don't know how much real wood there really was in them. It's probably more of a compressed particle wood or compressed cardboard, but in any event, just let them sit for a little while. I let mine sit for at least an hour just to make sure that the wood glue kind of got its chance to work. Now, look at this ribbon. It's got punky pies on it. Now, here's the thing. You can, the code, you can... pause that if you want. It's from craftoutlet.com. I actually looked it up right before I recorded this because I did buy that probably 3 or 4 years ago, but it is still available. It's a 10 yards. Right now the price is $5.95. On my spool right there, you see that I got it for $4.50. So price hasn't gone up too bad. But in any event, It is the cutest ribbon. And of course, ever since I got the word pumpkin pie in there, it applies. So I had the opportunity to finally use it. And of course, I've teamed it up with my favorite black and white buffalo check. And I just basically pulled a strip of fabric, or a strip of the ribbon. I didn't really measure it. And then I made an awareness ribbon shape, squeezed, basically brought the top down to the middle, pinched it. And then with the buffalo check, I just added a couple loops. So I'm holding it in my thumb, and I pull out to one side as long as I think I want the loop. Make it comparable to the loops of your original bow. And then here I'm accenting the middle. After I tied it with some twine, I felt like I needed to put a little bit of a twine bow in the middle. And that's just wrapping around a couple fingers and securing that in the middle. So I got a little cute bow with some extra little tails on it. I think the jute twine tails make it look just really cute. And of course, our last topping. You cannot have a pumpkin without tendrils, without those cute little squiggly things that come off of all of our pumpkins. So this is a pipberry garland that I also got off of craftoutlet.com many years ago. But this is very common. You can get these at pretty much every craft store, Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, they all have them. And it's a classic orange color that would definitely be out and available right now. So just take a look if you have something comparable. Or different colors. I've got clear. I've got clear. It's my favorite color. What's your favorite color? Clear. It's great. How about your favorite color? Polka dots. It's my favorite color. I've got white and cream, and then I've got a cream and a green, and then I've got some red ones at Christmas, some gold ones, and then I've got this orange one here. And I think that's all we needed to finish them off, other than the bows, is to put those cute little pipberry tendrils on the top. And I can't help but look at them. They just make me smile. Like I sit here as I voice record for you guys, and I'm just watching this over to just tell you the how, the when, the who, what, where, when, and why, who's on first kind of thing. And I just smile when I see the finished product. Makes me happy. Same thing with the tendrils on that one, pipberry garland. Now this one, this bow turned out different. I cut out a lot because it was a long time working on this. I ended up just cutting 2 strips of ribbon and dovetailing the ends. So this is kind of like what you would call a scrappy bow, but we're not doing the full-on scrappy bow. At first I thought I would just try that out, but I didn't have enough pieces. Now the orange ribbon is an old purchase from Joann's fabric stores from years ago, and the turquoise is a craft outlet spool of ribbon as well. That's if you guys really want to know where we're getting everything. Some of the stuff, it's just use comparable things. I wanted to take the turquoise out and bring it forward from what's in the scrap paper. And it really made me just think that this was all, like, the colors just made me happy. That's usually how I plan things out. I'll pick my colors first, make sure everything kind of like looks happy in the pile before you make it, and then you know you've planned it out right. So I think these two turned out really great. And I like the fact that one's a horizontal and one's vertical. I love turning things on the sides because I really like those little fat wide pumpkins, and then the tall pumpkins, and then the ones, I don't know, the gourds. I like all of it. It's all fall. It all makes me happy. And now look at that clean edge that you get on that paper with that sander. I love that too. And then of course our little pipberry tendrils. And here's that ribbon a little bit closer up. You've got a couple slices of pie with a whipped cream on it, and then you've got what is that here? Just regular pumpkins. So pumpkins and pumpkin pie. You can't go wrong with that. Oh, sorry guys. Even when I'm not in a live stream, my water app is interrupting me. Jeez, and I have my phone on silent, guys. Completely silent. Never fails. All right, so our next one here. Now I got this. This is an unfinished wood panel. It's a 5x7. I got them in a pack of 8 from Amazon. When I purchased them, I got them a little bit cheaper, but right now you can still get them for $16.99 for the 8-pack. That comes to be about $2.12 each. And so I'm going to paint it this turquoise color, which is a home decor folk art chalk paint in the color Grotto. And this is a very beautiful turquoise. It's a very vibrant color. I just opened it because you can see a little foil thingy there. I got this in like a starter pack of like 8 or 12 different colors, and it was like blues and greens. And I really like this color. And along with another one from Folk Art in the same pack was called Spanish Moss. You guys have seen me use that in my other videos. These colors are really great. I don't know that I really like the Folk Art paint so much. I think Waverly spreads better, might be a little bit thinner. I'm not sure. I love these colors, so I'm not exactly going to say, oh, I hate it, because if I hated it, I wouldn't buy it and I wouldn't use it. But this is a really nice color. I did not have to do a second coat. It was one coat. But again, we're putting it on an unfinished piece of wood, so whatever happens, happens. But I love this color, so I'm probably going to buy some more of it. And this right here is our little thankful word. I got this at Hobby Lobby in their wood section. It was $1.49. Now, their sales in their wood pile don't apply to anything under a specific price, because I've noticed that recently in the last few times I've been to Hobby Lobby where they've had a sale. We're also going to paint this with the pumpkin chalk paint, because that bright pop of orange is what we're looking for this next little project here. And also, this turned out way different than what I planned. I planned on doing like a pocket thing with this, and basically this thankful sign is going to become our pocket. So you'll see here as I paint this, I grabbed a paintbrush with a very smaller paintbrush so I could just do the top. I didn't want to paint the outsides. I like that laser cut look that gives that darker border around it. I think it's pretty. So I only wanted to paint the top of it. And so I got my little paintbrush out and just kind of took my time. Now, I've sped this up 6 times, so don't think that I was running through here this fast. I really wasn't. But again, one coat, and that bright orange is very pretty. And this is basically right there is the premise of what we're going to do right there. And those 2 colors, I love those together for fall. And here's another piece of scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. And see, we're pulling out those colors in there. Here's 5x9. It's called Fall Plaid if you wanted to find it. And I have the turquoise, and I've got the orange in there. And also, as you can see now, the frame has been distressed. Apparently I did not have that recorded, and I'm very sorry, guys. All I did was just take my regular hand sander and just rough up the edges. That's all I did. So I measured the inside of it, and I'm using my paper craft cutter. I've had this for years. They're very comparable cutters everywhere you look if you need one, but it's just a regular cutter. And then here's, someone had asked me before about that AdTech glue runner. That's what it looks like up close. If you need to, you can rewind and play back and then pause the video. I get it at Hobby Lobby, and I get the refills at Hobby Lobby also. So once you place down your paper, and I'm just lining up my sign, I'm going to put some styrofoam behind here because we are going to put a few little items in here we're going to need them to get, to stick into something. We need, I'm going to put up some florals, and I'm going to put some pumpkins in here. So I just got my scrap box of styrofoam, which I'm surprised is not a bigger box. So be proud of me, guys. I'm pretty proud of myself that scrap box is not bigger than it is, because everything else is full of junk. But I just put a very thin layer. Now, I was worried I didn't know what exactly I wanted to put behind here, because I had planned on using ribbon. And I was okay, well, the scrapbook paper wouldn't look right. There's really not much to have much support for it. I need the thankful sign to be able to be glued to more than just the little pieces of wood. So I just kind of put the Spanish moss in there. I didn't really want to go the Spanish moss route, but I'm glad I did, because it finishes off the project. It looks really pretty. It does look like a very nice floral arrangement, just where sometimes Spanish moss is a little messy, but this end result is so dang cute. I can't be mad at it. So I'm just tucking this in to make the bottom and the side edges super neat, because we are going to glue that word, the little wood word, above it. So I don't want it to stick out and be too crazy at the bottom. I want it to look more finished. So I'm just tucking it in, and then here I'm just going to spread out a thin layer of wood glue across the whole thing. So we're putting all that raw wood glue all over it. Yes, it's going to be sticking to the smaller piece, only like 3 or 4 places where it actually touches the wood. So I ended up getting some clamps, you'll see, and I'm holding it down. Put some clamps on it, and I let that sit for a good couple hours just to make sure. So while we're doing this, we got these 2 packs of Dollar Tree pumpkins that we're going to add to our project. They're so cute on their own, but I felt these guys right here needed some help. And I did post a picture on my page in the community tab. And here's the how-to on this. I did not like the fact that they looked like apples. Or I don't know what they just, yes, it looks like a pumpkin because we know we're going for a pumpkin. So I grabbed my needle and thread and I created a pumpkin butt. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it, if your pumpkin doesn't look like a pumpkin, you add that pumpkin butt. So I pulled the stem off. It came off pretty decently. And then there's a little bit of glue. I took my, I almost said cuticle nippers, like I'm doing my nails. I took my wire cutters there, and I just kind of cut off the big chunk of glue. And all I'm doing is I'm going to start threading from the bottom. Now, because this is a smaller pumpkin, I'm using a needle and thread. Otherwise, usually I have a yarn needle, and I might use yarn or embroidery floss, which would still work on this, but I wanted a thinner thread. So, of course, I grabbed orange, so it's comparables. And here you'll see my first loop. I go up through the bottom and come out through the top. And then you keep doing that. Go up through the bottom, out through the top. And then you can adjust each side. You can go across from it. You'll see how it kind of the pumpkin will make itself if you don't do an exact pattern. You don't want it to look like a flower. So just make sure that you're putting in enough veins to where it makes you happy. So I'm making this into its own little like little fat wide pumpkin. But I really like the pumpkins to have predominant veins in them. And I believe they're called veins. You know, the little creases in a pumpkin that make the pumpkin cute. That's the creases that make you want to pick up the pumpkin and kind of pat it. I always do that whenever I pick up pumpkins, guys. I'm, you know, TMI or not, I pick up my pumpkins and I pat them on the butt. I'm weird like that. I walk around the stores with them. I love pumpkins so much. I do not know what it is, but I'm obsessed with them. As you guys can probably tell, you've seen my tattoo. It's on my arm. I love pumpkins. I love them. Their stems, just something about pumpkins that make me happy year round. And it doesn't matter what time of year it is, a pumpkin will just always make me smile. And it's strange too, because I live in the desert. It's not like I've been around pumpkins. You know, they ship them in once a year and then I never see them again until the next year. But look how nice it looks compared to the original, you know, and there's nothing wrong with the original. Don't get me wrong, because I will be doing a project with them in another video coming up. Hopefully I'll get to that. But once you put that stem back on there, and the stem is hollow, so I had to fill it up with glue. But look at the difference. Isn't it great? I mean, I just think it makes the project that much more personalized. It gives it that little extra touch. Now these guys here, I don't know if what I did actually helped at all, but I didn't want to leave them this weird yellowy color with the black splotches on them. I'm like, it's not an egg, so I ended up grabbing my cashew chalk paint from Waverly, and I just gave them a quick coat. It still shows. I thought that if I put a thick enough coat on there, I could get rid of the styrofoam little, you know, the little circular look styrofoam gives when you know it's made of styrofoam, like it's just blatantly obvious it's styrofoam. I thought if I put a thick enough coat of paint on there, I could get rid of that, but I couldn't. So I was like, it's still, at least I changed the color, right? So I just gave them a little bit of coat, and then with the little tiny stick stems on there, I grabbed my antique wax, just something that was brown. You could use brown acrylic paint. You don't have to use the antique wax. It just was close to me, so I grabbed it. They're just the tiny little stems that I pulled out the top. And once I put the antique wax on those, I basically will glue them back into the tops. And then my paintbrush here still had some antique wax, and I was like, well, let me try putting some of this in the creases here to see if we can get those veins to come out. And again, I'll show you guys once I'm finished messing around with all this and just using up the paint that's in the paintbrush and making somewhat of a little bit of mud. I glued the stems back in, and then I'll show you compared to what they look like in the originally and see, does it make that big of a difference? Not sure. I'm not mad at it. But see, like, I just don't think those speckly things, that's an Easter thing for me. I just don't like it. So I colored it. In any event, it's painted a cream color, and that made me happy enough. So here's our project. I took the clamps off. We were definitely glued in that set for a couple hours, and it's not going anywhere. It's definitely solid. And I love just that alone is pretty. And if you don't even have to use that, you could use like some sort of scrappy fabric or anything like that. You don't have to use Spanish moss, but I turned my orange pumpkin into a pick. So you saw me there. I glued just an extra, that's a spare skewer of something I had off to the side. Grab a stem or a piece of wire, just turn it into a pick. And so here I'm showing you that I'm grabbing this Dollar Tree greenery, and those are Michael's sunflowers. And the Dollar Tree greenery a lot of times does not have pieces on the ends of the wires to cap off and prevent the greenery or the flower or whatever what is on your bush. It doesn't prevent it from just being pulled off the top. So a lot of times what I showed you just there was I take my needle nose pliers and I kind of curl it down and I make them into like a little circular piece so that it keeps the item from being able to be pulled off. I do that with a lot of Dollar Tree items because a lot of times, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of their stuff. Their stuff is improving, in my opinion, but a lot of times I have to go in and manually do that or glue every flower bud in. It's just one of those things you do just to add that extra little touch. You don't want to give something to someone or sell something and then everything falls off. That's, in my opinion, that is a very bad business model, or even just a gift giving. You don't want to give someone something that's going to fall apart. Because not every day that you even give things to other crafters, they wouldn't know how to fix them. So you want to give something to someone that's going to last a while. So of course I put my little orange guy in here, and then I glued the back of the pumpkin to the scrapbook paper as well. And then here I'm just finding the placement to my other two little punkies. I ended up taking them off of their sticks. Well, that one I took off of its stick. This one over here on the side that I'm putting in, I ended up putting a piece of a floral stem in there. It's a very thin green wire, and I bent it forward, as you can see, because obviously it's already on a wooden stick and that was sticking straight out, and I wanted this to curve forward towards you. So I changed the stem in that, glued that above the H in thankful, and then for this guy, I accidentally pushed the bottom of that piece of wood stick right through the top. So I had to fix it. So I just grabbed my chalk paint, kind of dabbed at the top of it, and then for that one, I literally just glued it to the back of the project. So that one is just glued onto the scrapbook paper, the back of the item. I think it turned out great. Now, I originally thought I would turn the frame itself into a pumpkin as well, and I was going to use like some nautical rope or something to make a stem out of it, but I don't think it needs it. I think it looks great the way it is, just as a nice little framed, picture, or a nice little framed, again, tabletop decor, shelf sitter. It's good for a tiered tray. I just think that the colors pop and everything is just so complimentary. It makes me super happy, especially with the little bits of turquoise that pop through in that scrapbook paper in the back. I could not be happier with that. I also added a couple more flowers in the back that I don't believe that I put into there. It was just literally a last minute thing. All right, now here's our last set of punkies for this particular video. I got 2 palettes from Dollar Tree. Everybody sees these many, many times. There's many, many palette videos out there. And for now, I'm turning these into my own little idea of an abstract set of pumpkins. So what I did is I'm gonna grab my pumpkin colored chalk paint from Waverly. I love this color. It is like the perfect, it's bright and happy, but also very fall at the same time. It's not neon. But yeah, I got paint all over me. I got so messy with this, you guys. So I added some water. Again, I'm using a throwaway piece of Tupperware. You can get those, temporary Tupperware things at the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm using this after I diluted the paint. And this is the best way, in my opinion, to paint these things, because you cannot get in to the side, the outside, the left side, the right side without messing up a paintbrush or making your eye twitch, and then you got a headache for 2 days. I just literally get them wet enough and water down the paint enough to where I have a really good coat. Now, even if you water your paint down to the point where it's not necessarily a solid color, because this is still a thicker paint than you would say like you'd use for maybe a staining or a whitewash. I've used it before with some stain, and it turned out really great on a previous video. I used it on the top of one of those Dollar Tree houses, and it turns out great. But I apparently used enough paint that I didn't have to do anything to it, because I still would have put some coats on the outside. So here I'm using the leftovers from my scrapbook paper from the last 2 projects. So I've got some of that plaid with that really nice turquoise stripe in it. So I was just kind of lining that up to make sure that was on there. And I'm doing the same technique as before, where I'm just kind of lining it up, and then I'm using my finger sander to take off the edges and give it a little bit of a rough up on those sides, so the paper looks a little roughed up, but you're getting a really clean edge on it. And then also with this one, you have to make sure that your paper is facing the correct way, because I almost put the bottom one on upside down. So the pumpkin pie would have been like correctly, because this one's obviously the vertical pumpkin, but you can see that the wording goes correct, it's facing the correct way for both sides. And then here I got these little finial caps at Hobby Lobby, finial dowel caps, 1/4 inch hole. It was $2.99 for 9 of them, but I got those 40% off. I believe they were running a sale, so I grabbed 2 of them. They're just small enough that I think they just add a little bit different feel to use them as a stem on a pumpkin. So they're kind of very tiny. They'd also be cute as feet on anything. You could turn that palette literally on its down like you're placing it flat, put 4 of those on there and make a cute little tiny riser, so that the riser itself is part of your decor, not necessarily just holding up decor. But we're doing pumpkins today, Whitney. So after I put the antique wax on there and I kind of just brushed it on and wiped it back off, I'm putting a little bit of wood glue on either side and then some hot glue on to hold it down. Now the horizontal one there, I've got a much more flat surface. Now the one that's vertical here, I only have a small amount to glue it to, so I did half wood glue, half hot glue. And then I let those sit also, I believe. And we're going to start on our ribbon. So while those are curing, I'm just kind of making some loops out of some ribbon. Now this is a combination of Hobby Lobby ribbon right there with the pumpkins on it, and then the other one that's like a velvety, it's a golden velvety color. It's a gold color. It's a velvet ribbon. It's a faux velvet ribbon. It's very soft and fluffy. That's a very old purchase from, I believe, Joann's again. Last time I've been to Joann's, it's been a couple years. I haven't had to buy fabric for a very long time. And out here, other than Hobby Lobby, Joann's is the best place to get fabric for any kind of big projects or anything like that. So I was doing a finger bow there, just a single finger bow on both of those. And I have a video tutorial for that linked in my description below. It's a slowed down video. Will show you how to do a single, double, and multiple loop finger bow. If you struggle with it, it's very, very user friendly as far as the instructions on how to do it. I had to practice for a very long time in order to get these down. And as you see here, I redid that last one a couple times and then chose to just kind of leave this one a little bit bigger. But the first one right there with that pumpkin ribbon is definitely just a single loop finger bow. Very easy, very effective, and I think they're so cute. Just the shape of them is that classic bow shape, and it just makes me happy. It makes me smile. I can't help it. I just can't help it. So that's all I did with that one, is I put the bow right on the top of the palette, right below our stem. And for this one, I'm going to use the Dollar Tree buffalo check this one I'm doing a double loop finger. Jeez, you guys, I'm tripping over my words right now. I'm doing a double loop finger bow, and then I melted the end on that one a little bit too much, so I kind of cut it again. That's just to keep it from unraveling. And then this is it says Celebrate It. So this is some really old pumpkin printed ribbon that I got at Michael's years ago. And I'm just using this in strips. I wanted it to be an accent. I didn't want it to take over or make another bow behind it. So I tied a knot in it, but I couldn't get it to lay flat. So what I eventually do is I cut my knot out and I just glue the strips down to the palette behind where I plan to place the bow. So I decided to go off to the corner here instead of closer to the stem. I just felt like it's a little bit different. Let it be a little bit different. You could see more of the words of the scrapbook paper. We weren't covering up too much. So I glued those two strips down kind of in a triangle fashion, and then put my double loop bow above it. And I felt like adding some buttons to this. Buttons are a great addition to anything. You could put button stacks. You could wire some buttons up in a long tall stack and put wire through them and use those on a regular pumpkin, like a stuffed pumpkin or a fabric covered pumpkin. I love buttons. They're great. They're Farmhouse. They're happy. I also have a lot of buttons, if you can see there. I also have another bag off to the side that you can't see. I love buttons. I have a small addiction to buttons. But I think they're very cute. And I also took out at least 15 minutes of me going through these buttons because it is very easy to get lost in the buttons. They're so beautiful. I also like the sound of them. I like to stick my fingers in them and just move them. Yeah, I'm weird. I'm weird, guys. It's it's a thing. So I just kind of stacked up complementary colors and placed them in different areas. I put one button in the middle of each bow, and then the rest was just kind of like a pattern that I felt looked good, and then of course complementing colors. And I think that turquoise button again pulls out the color in that scrapbook paper. And then the other one I used some darker greens, an orange, and both of them have a black button each. So then for my tendrils on these guys, because every pumpkin needs tendrils, needs those cute little coiled up wires to look like garland, or look little coiled up little wispy things. I love them. This is just black wire that I've had. It's a craft wire. You can get them in all kinds of colors. I got this at Michael's a while back, but you can find black wire pretty much everywhere. And I just added the tendrils up around the base of each one of those little finial caps as our stems. And I love it. And it just says turkey and cranberry, which you can see more of that paper on our other set of pumpkins. But I love the colors. I love the complementing ribbon. Everything just makes me so happy. These things, they come together and they just make you smile. I just can't help it. I love it. You guys tell me what you think. Do they ever look like pumpkins? Or you only see pumpkins because I told you they're pumpkins, you know? Sometimes I'm more like, do you see a pumpkin? I see a pumpkin in everything, but I'm wondering, does it really look like a pumpkin? I don't know. In any event, I love it anyways. And also that painting technique is the easiest way to paint those little palettes. You guys let me know if you have anything else. But I also went ahead and did use the rest of that orange paint on a couple other things. I'm going to make a beaded garland. I'm going to make something else out of those little wooden rings you get at that you get at Dollar Tree. So stay tuned for that because I ended up painting all of it at the same time. But you'll see in the next videos. So that's it for our pumpkins this round, guys. This was going to be part of that other wooden video too, but it would have been way too long. So this is kind of my part 2 And tell me what you think. I love these colors. I love this whole feel. It's very, very, very happy. Now, again, my colors are more white and green in my house for my pumpkins, but I would love, I mean, technically I have this out anyways. It doesn't matter. I do not discriminate when it comes to punkies. Then let me happy. So you guys tell me your thoughts. So I have a coffee page. I want to thank everybody who has sent me a coffee and supported me, helped me out, buying me more supplies. Everything is great. I also want to thank you guys. I've gotten a couple hundred subscribers in the last couple weeks, and I want to thank everybody for joining me and spending your time with me. Everybody has been wonderful, and I love every single one of you guys more than I could possibly say. So with that, I'm going to say good night for now, or good day. So happy crafting. Take care of yourselves. You're doing a great job. Many hugs. And I said that all completely out of order because I'm just happy. So thank you guys. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.